Well, the Meyiwe family has waited for nearly 8 years for justice. But there are people who've waited much longer than that. And I'm talking, of course, of apartheid-era crimes that were meant to be prosecuted on the recommendation of the TRC, the Truth and Reconciliation Commission, when it wrapped up its work. Political interference in the prosecution of apartheid-era crimes may now be probed. The National Prosecuting Authority saying that the Justice Minister is going to decide on whether to hold an inquiry soon. The NPA updating Parliament today on progress made in prosecuting these crimes from the apartheid era. Lindsay Detlinger joins us now. So, Lindsay, this is a really big and emotive issue and long overdue. What progress has the National Prosecuting Authority reported regarding these matters?
So, as you say, Sally, a long, drawn-out and emotive issue. The Justice Portfolio Committee chairperson today again pointing out that he just recently received 4 more complaints from families appealing to Parliament to help speed up these matters. And it was in December last year when this committee had made the resolution that the NPA report back to it quarterly on the progress made. So today was really the first glimpse since that resolution was taken, that they were giving us an update. Shamila Batoy, the head of the NPA, saying in the last 6 months that they've really made swift progress. Rodney de Kock, her deputy, who is heading up a special unit, Sally, which comprises over 30 prosecutors and investigators, solely working on matters that have arisen from the TRC and prioritizing these cases. They have, just since September last year, added some 40 more cases that are now under investigation, bringing the total number of TRC-related cases currently at various phases of investigation to 97 at the moment. So the NPA saying a lot of work still needs to go into this, but not to bring families the closure and the answers they need would be a travesty of justice and also an indictment on the justice system in South Africa if we didn't bring those responsible to book where possible. But Shamila Batoy also impressing on the committee that it wasn't a case of the NPA not wanting to do anything about it or sitting on their hands, but saying that given the time that's elapsed, it is, as you can imagine, really difficult to build a case that can be prosecuted, to find the evidence. Documents have been destroyed, evidence has been destroyed, people have died, witnesses have died, possible accused have died, and she said they didn't want to open the state up to civil litigation if they got it wrong, but she wanted to impress on families that where possible they were doing whatever they could to bring cases like this to book. We heard today that a judge of the Western Cape High Court has now been appointed to reopen an inquest into the death of Imam Haroon here in Cape Town after 122 days in detention, his death shrouded in mystery, and then another case, the NPA said that they would be ready to make some form of announcement and decision within 6 weeks' time, is on the Craddock 4 as to how they may take that matter further. But here's Shamila Batoy speaking about what the NPA has been doing over these last few months to try to escalate these cases.
When we have a case, we will decide to prosecute. There's absolutely no reason for us in the NPA, if there is evidence against anyone, for us not, for the DPP not to take the decision to prosecute. So bringing applications to compel us mean that we have to engage counsel. It costs us to go to court, but we've been engaging with families because we don't want to be working against the families. We are both on the same side. We both want justice for the victims. And I want to really assure this committee and the people of South Africa that if there is sufficient evidence, we will prosecute.
Of course, the bigger issue is that there was a deal between the apartheid government and the new ANC government, that they wouldn't probe certain apartheid crimes. And that's been the allegation. It's come up in court, and there's been a certain amount of acknowledgement that these prosecutions have not moved forward. Did Shamila Batoy address this concern that there actually was a political deal not to move forward with these cases?
Yes, Sally. So MPs obviously asking the question, saying they acknowledge this progress, they take note of it, they are obviously cautiously optimistic that, this is the process and the ball is really rolling, but that they cannot not ask the question about why it's taken so long to get to this point. Shamila Batoy quite adamant that there's been no political interference in the 3 years or so since she took office in terms of investigating and prosecuting these cases, but she obviously was cautious to say that she couldn't answer for what has happened in the past, and we know at least one of her predecessors have pointed to the matter that it was indeed political interference, obviously coupled with all the other problems that the NPA has been beset with over the years that have contributed to the slow pace at which, if any, progress at all was being made in terms of prosecuting these cases. And she said she was talking to the Justice Minister. As you know, it has come out of one of these trials that the judge has actually requested the NPA to investigate this allegation of political interference. And to this end, Shamila Batoy and Justice Minister Ronald Lamola, she said, were in discussions which she said were already at an advanced stage as to how they would go about probing these allegations of political interference, whether that's a high-level panel or whether there is an inquiry. But she did indicate that they were already at an advanced stage, but she didn't want to jump the gun. It was not for her to make the announcement as to what would happen or to take that decision, but certainly that matter was not going to be laid to rest, and we would a decision would be made very soon as to exactly what route gets followed in terms of investigating these claims, because as you can imagine, that could open up a whole another can of worms in terms of allegations that politicians may have interfered in the investigation and the prosecution of these cases. Here's Shamila Batoy again on that point.
There has been no political interference at all since I have taken office. And but if one reads the affidavit of the previous NDPP, Vusi Pikoli, I think it would be very clear to the members what kind of interference, in his view, the NPA was subjected to at that time. So I would urge members to please refer to his affidavit in that regard. In the Rodriguez judgment, the judge asked, directed in fact, that the NDPP look into the issue of possible political interference in the functioning of the NPA at that time.
Right, the NPA's Shamila Batoy, thank you very much for that update.